Hi guys, I'm Gail.
And I'm Russell.
And welcome to another episode of our podcast.
Cool, it's been an adventure, guys. We're on the move. We're in the UK. So we've been travelling and we're at my sister's house renovating. She's renovating actually. So we've been fun trying to get set up for the podcast.
Entertaining. Today we want to talk about teamwork and how you can work together with your partner or not and be at odds or points of contention, and where do you come together with your partner and work as a team, and where are you falling short?
And I think obviously what makes the quality of the relationship is the teamwork. How are you anywhere in any part of the day with each other? Are you on the same page? Are you working together? Are you communicating well? Or are you being right? Are you getting stuck? Are you triggering each other? And so teamwork is how you do everything in the relationship.
Teamwork's how you make the dream work.
Sure.
But also it's important to notice, where are you actually working together? So for some people, we've heard couples talk about our relationship works so smoothly on holidays, but then when we're back in normal day-to-day life, they have no idea how to operate and function as a team in the days, the comings and goings of a normal day, if you like. Whereas when they're on holiday, my guess is most of the time they're probably in a relaxed mode, chilled out vibe, kind of flowing with things, so they feel like they can come together more easily. Whereas in day-to-day life, they'd be running more high stressed, and that causes a different type of teamwork.
Yeah, and I think if you consider what couples you know and what couple you are, you go out and you see those couples that are always bickering. Do you see those couples that are always picking at each other, that are always trying to be right about their own point of view? Or I even look at it around, I've seen couples order food, and the way they order food is not okay for one of them and it's okay for the other one. So then they're at each other over that. There's no teamwork in that. And it's almost like if you don't do something as simple as that, like if you don't order pizza the way I want you to order pizza, I'm not going to be happy with the way you've done it, and I'm going to tell you my opinion, my point of view.
Yeah.
And then even from that point of view and that opinion, then creates an argument or bickering. It's like just little snapping.
Yeah.
And go on.
And one of the things we've gotten really good at, especially because if you don't know us by now, we're a couple who operates country to country. Like right now we're in the UK, we just left Canada, we're going to spend a month in Vietnam, and then we're back to our house in Perth. And to be able to do that, one needs to be able to operate as a well-oiled machine, because when we were leaving the house in Canada and getting it set up for Airbnb, for example, there was stuff that needed to get done. We did some renovations and got things done, and then the house has to get all tidied up and our things go downstairs, and it's that's either going to be argue, nitpick, and a shit show for want of a better term, or it's going to flow and move really, really smoothly. And it's interesting because one of our adult kids actually said to us, I love watching how you could see our house a week before we left and you'd go, there's no friggin' way that this is going to be ready for when you go. But we know how we operate, and we know that what we can create in really short periods of time, and how we actually come together to make that happen.
Yeah, and I think people are always surprised when they see the amount sometimes that we've got to do, because we're constantly on the move, constantly doing something, and they're like, how the hell are you going to make this work? But somehow we do. I think it's really important to understand that if you consider stress, anxiety, overwhelm and frustration and anger, and then how much of that you've got during the day, that's going to affect your amount of patience that you have. And patience really directly affects how much space you can allow the other person and yourself to have under pressure.
Yeah.
So the teamwork kind of works when you're under pressure.
Yeah, it's not how you operate when things are going smoothly, right?
Yeah.
Anybody can operate in awesome conditions, but it's when the tension's there, when stress is high, when you're renovating a house or money's tight, or whatever the thing might be, is how do you operate in those moments with your partner?
I think what I was trying to say there as well is we operate really well in those tense moments, right?
Yeah.
And we give each other a lot of space to just do whatever we're doing. But I see couples in normal life where they have that much tension and pressure over going out, ordering a meal.
Small things. What we would consider small things.
Yeah, small things, So you've got to ask yourself, where are you at, and where are you at on the tension level meter?
how far is the elastic band pulled between the two of you?
Yeah, before you even start to do anything.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the infinite method is about learning how to master your emotional state,
Yeah.
so that you're dealing with
First-
your own
Self, right? Like the first
Yeah.
part being that you like actually identify and like take a minute, pause. What is actually going on? Where is the tension in my body? Like, what does it feel like? How do I feel, in those moments?
Yeah, and you can't see the room we're in now, but like I say, this house is being renovated, so we found a little nook that's as quiet as it can be, and we've done it when people are out, but we're trying to get set up here with travel gear rather than our normal setup, and
which is fun in itself.
yeah, it's caused tension, right?
Yeah.
Because we both want to get on with it, we want
Let's
to get it done. And so it causes tension for you and tension for me, and those tensions clash.
Yep, we have different points of view as well and opinions, like how it needs to be set up, what we want it to look like, all those kinds of things.
Even like this difference that we have with numbers is a classic example. Like the amount of conversations we have where she's trying to work something out from the way she does numbers, and I'm trying to work it out from the way I do numbers. Neither of us can understand how the other person thinks.
Like to the point, like if Russell's like explaining, for example, in our course, The Wisdom Warriors, when he's talking about the numbers and how to actually make sense of where they go in stress and in health and growth, right? How he does it, I need to make my ears close off because my head feels like it's going to explode as to how he explains it. But that totally makes sense for a lot of people, whereas for me, my brain goes, whoa, that's like full overwhelm and feels like my brain's going to explode.
And like even just then, we're talking, she's trying to raise the camera to get the right picture for the video version of this. And so she's messing around with the camera, and I'm saying, well, you can lift it and tilt it. And she's saying, well, I don't want it to be higher. I want to get the height right. And I'm like, hang on a second, that is lifting and tilting or something. I wasn't saying she needed to do it, I just wanted her to know it can happen. So we're really on the same page actually, but we're just not understanding how each other is communicating.
Oh, and that is part of the communication as well. If you talk about a relationship, is both people, like you can look at it from a masculine and feminine point of view, and you can also look at it from a personality point of view as well. Either one and both, we speak a different language.
Yeah, for sure.
From no matter how you look at it, even if we were the same personality, just the masculine and feminine, how they communicate is totally different, but we aren't the same personality. We're both very different personality types, which then adds another layer to it. So, and then it's like how we've made sense of ourselves.
Yes, it's like, how do we make sense of the world? What's our map of the world? And what I'd really like you to see while we're talking about this is it's the space that you can hold for each other to be each other. You know, what we're trying to do, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get her to be me. I want her to understand numbers my way, so it'll make it easier and quicker to explain things. I want her to understand height adjustment my way, because if she can understand it my way, then to me, it kind of, I live in the delusion that it will be easier for me, when it won't. And in fact, as I say that, it's kind of ridiculous to think that that I'm going to find a partner that is going to actually think exactly like I do in all areas. And of course, as you live together in life, you're going to discover all the areas in life, and particularly all the areas you don't work together as a team.
Yeah, and that's the first place you want to start is, where are you not operating together as a well-oiled machine in your, like in teamwork, in your relationship? And where are you? It's a really great conversation to sit down and have with your partner. Like, what are places that we excel and what are places that we fall short? And then when you can start to identify them, then you can actually go to work, because that actually creates a space of growth. And then you can understand like what is actually going on in those moments. Like, trying to think of an example. Like we've had couples that, like, when they organize an event, they're at each other because one wants it to do it one way and one wants to do it another way. Both things are accurate and will get the job done, but it's like they misfire the entire time. It's like that causes tension and undue tension.
So let's just expand that a little bit to parenting. I mean, that's a classic example. If you're parents, you know, the parenting idea that each individual has is often very, very different.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that's going to really affect the quality of your relationship is how well you can operate together in the area of parenting, how well you can operate as a team. and then, you know, of course, give and take comes into that. But communication and talking about why you want to parent the way you do.
Why is it important?
Why is it important to you? What's the
Yeah.
purpose of it?
Yeah.
And why, you know, why do you do what you do? And then even some of the kind of more heated moments, which Gail and I were talking about the other day, is, you know, if I get upset with the kids, they're doing something, I might yell at them, and then she'll often over yell what I'm saying, right?
Because inside of me, it triggers this like angst that I like. That in order to deal with that moment, loudness needs to come out, right?
And so if we have the conversation about that, we can understand where each other's coming from. We can stop doing that behavior.
And create space for how do you heal and move through that together. So if you're aware of what's going on for your partner in that moment, then you can actually like take a moment to go like, okay, this is likely what's going to happen for her or him there. Knowing that gives you great power.
Yeah.
But even explaining to your partner and like how do you work team, even go back to something like squeezing the toothpaste or putting on a toilet paper roll. Do you let the toilet paper roll flow the roll flow over or under? If you don't understand why that is or isn't important to your partner, or why your partner could care less about that, then again, I mean, it seems like a small thing, but for some people that drives them absolutely crazy. Like, and how I squeeze a toothpaste drives Russell mad.
She stays hours in the bathroom, I'm sure of it, working out new ways and new concoctions as to how she can twist and bend and manipulate the toothpaste to make it hard as possible to get toothpaste out of it. And when I walk in, I look at it and I go, how the hell did she get it into this shape?
Which I have no attention on because that for me is not important. However, the toilet paper roll, I like it. I can't even help myself sometimes. Like, I like it to flow from the top, so you're pulling from the top.
I think most people do. I think that's the
Some
general
people
way.
actually like to pull it from the bottom.
No way, do you?
I've seriously. Write in the comments, are you a toilet paper roll puller from the top or from the bottom? And then the other conversation, I mean, speaking of toilet paper, are you a cruncher or folder? Like, that's a point of contention and argument for people.
Well, not really, because you don't.
You do it in your own space.
You do it in your own area.
When
right?
you're actually like in the toilet, like and which way the toilet roll flows, like some people that really drives them wild.
Maybe you need to have 2 rolls of toilet paper. 2 holders.
I'm pretty sure you don't mind. I think you always just put it on the top of the toilet paper roll and in hopes that somehow it'll end on the little rolly doogalacky, right?
So even talking about that, you know, you see all these little things, and I remember in the early days of our relationship, one of the things was I drink a reasonable amount of tea, and Gail, the bin was over the other side of the kitchen.
Oh my goodness.
So every time I took my tea bag out of my cup,
he was leaving it on the side of the sink. Like, are you kidding me?
And so she's driving her crazy because she's like sees this tea bag that she's now got to take
over to the bin.
And that became a point of we weren't working together as a team on that.
In fact, I'm pretty sure we worked with our mentor at the time. We had a whole session on the tea bag, and the outcome of that was putting a little bin near where the kettle was, so then when he was making his tea, it could go straight in. So that completely rectified, because I didn't mind having a little bit on the bench top in the kitchen, that completely rectified that entire challenge. But ask yourself, how many times in your relationship do you let things go by the wayside and they actually leave you at an undercurrent of like annoyed, pissed off, angry agitation, where like every day you're not resetting to zero, but you're like living in like, well, that was 1 tea bag. Well, now that's 50 tea bags. That's 100 tea bags. And like that level of irritation gets higher and higher and higher because people don't learn to reset. And I think that's another point we can actually make here is like resetting after your partner irritates you.
Yeah, I think the working together is important with the tea bag thing, because we worked out this solution with the little bin. That was purely by communication.
Yeah.
That was by me understanding what was going on for her.
Yeah.
She didn't get it, the point of it. When I'm making my tea, I make, you know, however many, it's not loads, I don't drink 100 a day, but I don't want to walk all the way across the kitchen to put my tea bag in the bin every time. So I'd rather create a little pile of them and then throw it in the bin at the end of the day. So we communicated over that. She could see it from my point of view. I could see it from her point of view. We could find a solution. And 9 times out of 10, in most areas in your relationship,
there is a solution.
There is a solution that is not that hard to find.
Well, here's the funny thing, and I don't know if I would have told you this back in the day, but like, here's another layer that just popped into my mind. My mom used to actually leave the tea bags in a little bowl.
Yeah.
And for me, that just in my mind created a lack. It was almost like to reuse the tea bags thing.
Yeah.
So like it really I think the leaving the tea bag must have also been triggering this sense of lack. Like I must need to reuse it. Russell would never reuse the tea bag again, but like this need to actually keep it for some given point where you may run out of tea bags, and then at least you've got this pile of tea bags, right?
And you keep a little pile of them for the guests that come around. They won't even know.
They get a half-assed tea instead of a
money.
full. But that's really interesting because that just popped into my mind. Like that's triggered from childhood. Like that used to drive me crazy. I never understood why there was a bowl of tea bags on my countertop growing up as a kid. It never made sense to me.
So we do want to get on the same team, and what were you saying? You were talking about resetting, right?
Resetting, but that's really important.
And I think we this is what we do really well, especially in times of stress and tension, when things aren't going well, when we're having problems or whatever.
When we're both being right.
Yeah.
Coming back together is the reset.
Yeah, and it doesn't take any amount of time to let go of it, because there's no energy behind the words.
Yeah.
And that's what I want you to think about is that, you can bicker with each other, but what's the energy behind the words? Is the energy behind the words like you're right, they're wrong, you have to win, they have to lose?
Yeah.
You have to justify yourself, you have to invalidate them, you have to dominate the situation and avoid being dominated. These are just some of the things I talk about when I talk about the happiness trap. We can get in this happiness trap of
which is not actually a happy place.
It's not a happy place.
It sounds like exciting, but it's actually it's how you completely fuck your life.
The lure is happiness.
Yeah.
And you get trapped in there by looking and thinking the way to happiness is to be right. The way to happiness is to dominate. The way to happiness is to justify. And it's not. It actually leads to more pain, more suffering. So when we talk about resetting, it's how quickly do you reset?
Yeah.
And do you reset? Because most couples don't actually reset back to zero.
Yeah.
And this is why relationships get worse over time, because they've never actually given up or let go of the thing that they need to let go of.
Yeah, and I think a really great visual, if you can imagine, it's you and your partner, right? And when you're in love and you've met each other and you let go of everything, all the cute little quirks, the things that they do that now perhaps drive you nuts, but back then you're like, oh, it's so lovely, right? All of a sudden you've had an argument and then a brick gets laid.
Yeah.
And then, maybe Russell's left the tea bag on the bench and another brick gets laid. And then maybe I've spoken to him in a sharp tone or been mean in his world, mean.
Yeah.
And then another brick gets laid. And then he's forgot to empty the dishwasher and I'm like, oh, it's just one more thing I have to do. And another brick gets laid. And you can imagine over time, day, week, month, year, this massive wall gets built up in between the two of you. And it's why you'll hear us say that people don't fall out of love, they fall into resentment. And it's because this wall is smack bang in the middle of the couple and there's no actual, there's no experience of love anymore because it can't get through the wall, right? So they're not feeling the love anymore. What they're feeling is all of this pissed off, angry, anger, stuff that's gone on over however long the relationship has happened, and they don't know how to dismantle the wall or come back to zero. So when Russell and I talk about resetting to zero, it's moment by moment, day by day. And it's no brick ever gets an opportunity to get laid.
Yeah, there's just nothing. There's communication, there might be disagreement. There might be a
carry-on. It might flow over a day or two, but nothing's getting laid as a permanent brick.
Yeah. I mean, it hardly even flows over a day or two.
No.
Most of our
But if I think
day-to-day working together as a team.
If I think back to early days when we were just starting out in our relationship and starting to understand things, there would be times where we had to work through stuff where it felt like the whatever the point or the thing that needed to get worked out wasn't worked out in a day, where people would actually lay that as a brick. We never laid that as a brick. We might park a topic and actually like park that conversation that may not get figured out in a day or an hour, but we wouldn't lay a brick, and that's the resetting to zero.
And I think even in that, what she just said then, you know, it's like, well, I said something different to what she said, and it's just allowing that. Well, that's her point of view. That's the way she sees it. I don't know if I see it that way, but what real difference is that going to make? And so then I can also become curious and go, well, her point of view is valid. Her point of view counts. So it's not doing anything to my point of view. I can just look at it and listen to it and go, well, maybe she's right. Maybe I agree with that.
But even if he doesn't agree with it, you can just kind of go like, okay, that's an interesting perspective of how you look at it. There doesn't even need to be agreement in every
and
situation.
I'd invite you to consider, you know, because what happens over time is these little bickerings don't get dealt with, and they become more and more and more until you can't even let the person leave their socks on the floor without losing your shit, or you can't even let the person snap once without losing your shit.
You stop seeing what you love about the person, and instead you see the annoyance and the irritation. Like, so, you know, I'm trying to think of an example of it right now, but like I love to cook. And so, like, imagine if I left the kitchen a mess all the time. If that irritated Russell, it would never irritate him because he's just not the kitchen person. But if it did, like, instead of seeing the beautiful meal that got created, he could easily just see the mess or what needs to get tidied up. And that could become an argument, and that could become something that he carries. So it's like, are you missing out on the goodness in your relationship because all you see right now are the points of contentions or the points of, like, where you don't love what your partner does, or you don't like, or it's like a triggeration into you.
So we'd kind of like you to start to consider that your relationship needs to function as a team, and it's teamwork. And to, like any team, your own position on it is going to decrease the functionality of it, the beauty of it, the joy of it, the fun of it, and the success of it. And so, we're working on a few things here. We're working on releasing our own point of view and position. We're working on communicating. So we can talk about it.
And then walking a mile in the other person's shoes, seeing it from their perspective.
Yeah.
Allowing both of you to have differentiating opinions and points of view, which are both valid.
Yeah.
And even if you take, like, what you might argue over, like, say a situation happens, right? Like, there's Russell's reality, then there's my reality of what might have happened, and then somewhere in the middle lies the reality. But I can't discount or dismiss Russell's version of reality because it doesn't match mine. There has to be an acceptance and a, like, understanding that both people's opinions and point of views actually matter, and each person's reality is their reality. And when you can accept that, then you can actually move forward. Because isn't it like, if you argue with reality, you'll just lose 100% of the time. So, like,
you'll lose, but only 100% of the time.
So, like, I can argue for my reality being the reality, or I can accept that my reality might look slightly different from what Russell's is.
And neither are actually reality in the first place. They're just a version of it. Through our own filters.
And through our own interpretation of how we grew up and how we made sense of the world.
And so, what I'd invite you to consider is, if you write down the things, we do this exercise in the couples retreat called behavioural change procedure. And what it gives us a chance to do is write down all the behaviours and ways of acting that people do in the relationship. And we make a list of it, and then we give it to the other person. And we ask them, what could you stop doing easily to start with? Like, it would be easy. And then there are some things that they don't think they can change, but there are things they can change and stop easily. They didn't even know it bugged the other person. And then there are things that they could work on and stop changing, they're willing to. What you find is there's only a small amount of things that are at a point of contention. There are only a small amount of behaviours.
And it's not about, like, fixing your partner in that moment as well, but a lot of the times, what irritates and annoys you about your partner has zero idea that it actually does. You're just going about your day and you haven't actually communicated, which is a withheld communication, you haven't communicated to them that, hey, this actually drives me crazy, and then why, and what's going on for you. So like, I have a real aversion sensitivity to noise and sound, and Russell, God bless him, he chooses ice cream. So then he does this smacking thing with his teeth.
You have to chew ice cream, otherwise how are you going to swallow it?
No, you suck it.
You have to chew it.
So, like, when I'm already unregulated emotionally, like, the sound of that makes me go from like 0 to 1,000, like as if fire's coming out of my brain, right? And if I don't know that about me, or if Russell doesn't understand that, it'll probably look like, well, why doesn't she want to be near me when I'm eating ice cream and I'm not? And he knows that a lot of the time it's like, I've got to actually go take care of me, because otherwise I am going to be a horrible version of myself, because I'm like, oh, the sound. But you have to know that about your partner, and the only way to know that is to communicate. And I'm sure you have versions of stuff about me as well.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And then you have that model, right, that you use in line with this to kind of start to differentiate where we are individually. I mean, she's going to go into accountability, but so much of this is about being accountable. What we don't want to be accountable for in our own lives is we don't want to be accountable for our own feelings. And we don't want to be accountable for our own feelings. And what we want to do is we want to blame something else or someone else for our feelings, because we find that easier.
Yeah.
So what we do is we end up mostly blaming our partner.
Yeah.
And as soon as we blame the other person, we give them all of the power. And so
which ultimately makes you powerless.
Yeah, it leaves you powerless, and you can't change anything. So when I talk about accountability, for most people going responsible, they see it as a bad thing. They don't want to do that. But it's actually a good thing, because only by becoming accountable can you change anything in your life.
Yeah.
And so, you know, this model works well when you look at working for a team, and Gal will explain it to you.
Yeah, so like if you think of it as above the line and below the line behavior and how you operate in your intimate relationship. And for those of you that operate a business or have kids, this model actually works across the board with all human beings. But we're going to talk about it right now. In the
we can
context of
flick you a
relationship.
diagram with it if you go on Insta and DM us. We'll flick you a diagram if you go on and just message us and say, I want that above the line,
below the line.
Below the line model.
So above the line, like Russell had alluded to, is you've got your oars. You've got ownership, responsibility, and accountability. And then below the line behavior is, so when you want to like cozy up in your bed, blame, excuse, deny. So below the line behavior is when you want to point the finger somewhere else. So, and remembering that when you blame somebody, it's actually, if you point your fingers like a gun, it's like 1 part them and 3 parts pointing back at you. So if you ever think about like, it's your fault that you did this, and you want to blame somebody else for something, remember that 75% of that is actually you.
And we can go into blame on another day, but you know, blame's essentially giving the other person, taking a poison pill yourself, expecting the other person to die. That's what normally happens when you're blaming someone else.
And then you make excuses, or you just flat out deny. Did you spill the milk? No, I didn't do that. Like, we've all heard that, like, did Johnny spill the milk? No, Johnny didn't spill the milk. The cat must have spilled the milk, you know, like.
Or you deny your part in it. You don't see your part in it. That's a little bit more hidden, a little bit more protected.
Yeah.
And we often talk about the ego and how it has blind spots. And this is one of them, you know. You will deny that you have any part in the cause of any situation.
But in your intimate relationship, you have to remember cause and effect is always at play. So
in your universe, in everything, cause and effect is at play.
Yeah, but when in the context of the relationship, like if you're accusing your partner of something, and if you feel the effect, you're part of the cause, right?
Always, in everything.
Whatever and it doesn't matter what percentage it is, you or them. So even if, let's say a situation happened, even if Russell's 99% responsible and I'm 1% responsible, which usually isn't the case for anyone, but let's just for argument's sake do that. I need to go 100% responsible for my 1%, and he needs to go 100% responsible for his 99. Now, a lot of that's being very, when people think it's all one person, so that you can actually see you.
It's at least 1% you,
it's
right?
At
That's
least
why I
1%
use that
you.
model. It's at least 1% you.
Yeah, so you want to go responsible for that part, and that part makes 100% of the difference for you. But if you can't operate above the line, which is take ownership, responsibility, and accountability, then there's no space for you to grow and move in your relationship. And I think a really great example of this is like, so ladies, I don't know if any of you have ever had that dream where your partner has done something in your dreams, which hasn't actually happened in real life, but when you wake up in the morning, it's as if he's done.
God help me if I go out with someone else in her dream.
Right. So like you wake up in the morning and the feeling was as if he like cheated on me, for example. Let's use that as an example. Emotionally, it feels like it actually happened, but it was totally just in my dreams. Now, if I don't go take ownership, accountability, and be responsible for that fact that that was my dream, there's no space for Russell to then be a part of and heal how, gentlemen, I'm going to teach you in a second how you can actually have that conversation with your wife or partner. There's no space for him, because if I go like, you did this, and I just blame him and make excuses for like, and then he wants to make excuses for why that may or may not have happened in my dream, then again, you can see that model's at play. But if I be responsible, like, hey babe, I had this dream last night, and then I share it with him, what can happen next is a beautiful gift. So what happens next, Russell?
When you do what?
Like if I say to you, oh my God, babe, you did all this stuff in my dream last night. Like it really affected me, and I'm just really torn.
Then I'm sorry that I didn't mean to do it, baby.
Right? So he'll actually apologize for a dream. Right? There's no validity. There's no reality.
What did I do, baby? I'm sorry, that hurt you. Because women are all about safety and security, right? So it just brings up a question anyway.
Yeah. So emotionally, he's taking care of me because I've been responsible that, hey, this was a dream, this actually didn't really happen, which gives, him space to then say, no way, babe, like, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to do that, or whatever the case might be. But that completely dissipates any experience for me to carry on into the day. Because otherwise what happens if he invalidates that in that moment and goes like, that was a fucking dream. Like, are you kidding me? Like, what are you even talking about? That's insane, right? Or any version of that. What happens is emotionally this turmoil and stress builds up inside my body, and then I'm starting my day carrying all of this. Instead of having a conversation, which is being both people taking ownership and responsibility for the relationship. Like, if you knew you could heal your partner and help them in that moment with a 2-second conversation, wouldn't you want to?
Yeah, so, obviously in my world that would easily become, what are you kidding me? It was your dream. How can I even be responsible for that or take ownership of that? But it's if I'm there on the same page, in the same team, I want my teamwork partner to be at her best.
Yeah. Then
it only makes sense that I would do everything I can and be as responsible and as accountable and take as much ownership as possible for that.
Yeah, and gentlemen,
crazy experience.
Yes, and I know this happens across the board. So, gentlemen, the learning is you can actually go, no way, babe, I'm so sorry about that, and just actually dissipate the energy. And ladies, is to actually take ownership and responsibility. Like, hey, this was a dream and this is what's happened, but this is how I'm feeling. I now feel unsettled, unemotionally regulated, sad, upset, angry, pissed off, whatever you're experiencing, which is then what we started with before, is actually identifying the feeling that you've got going on in your body and then communicating it to your partner. And then your partner can choose to heal and help you in that moment, or can actually fuel the fire, which one is teamwork and one is the opposite, not teamwork.
And we want to be the best team player, obviously, in this small little team that we've got going on here.
Yeah.
Because that's going to allow us to parent better. It's going to allow us to have a better marriage. It's going to allow us to be financially more productive.
Yep.
Obviously, we work together, so it's going to allow us to work together more successfully.
Yep.
And that's been a learning process, obviously, of being able to be accountable and take responsibility for our own part and learn how to communicate and teach each other how we need to be listened to, how we need to talk.
Yep.
I never like to get into that where I need her to be something for me, because I see that a lot in therapy and a lot in different types of relationship teachings, and they always come down to, well, if you disrespect me, that's a boundary for me, and that then goes, well, hold on a second, what if she accidentally does it, or what if she's upset, or
what if the only space that she has is to deliver it that way, even if it's not healthier,
So
the
the
best
question,
way.
the question I ask myself if I'm having above the line behaviour,
Mm.
below the line behaviour is don't disrespect me, because when you do, this is making me feel this, and this.
Well, that's blaming the other
that's
person.
blame.
Yeah. Making an excuse that
denying
when you do this, I
Yeah.
feel that.
I'm excusing my own part in it and,
Yeah.
and making it be
You're
about
denying
her.
that you even have a part in it.
Yeah, denying that I have a part.
Yeah.
And instead of taking accountability for it and going, okay, well, what is my experience with respect there? And why am I allowing myself to feel disrespected? It doesn't make any sense. And it'll be a childhood wound or a part of your shadow or a part of your disowned self and your ego. So the more you understand that, when you're when you're operating below the line, you're operating in ego.
Yeah. And that's a can't do attitude. Can't do, it's like your whole mindset and your whole being is like, it's not possible, you're living in like buts, you're making excuses, like you're very like, nope, it's not happening. Whereas like above the line is like can do attitude, like I will, I must. Whereas like should, shouldn't, like all falls below the line.
I promise everything that anybody has ever been successful at, to any great degree or level, relationships, parenting, school, work, making money, driving cars, playing sport, anything that anybody has ever been good at, there's a massive percentage of that that is contributed to by them being able to stay above the line in that area.
Because above the line is, if you think of those small practices that you can do day in and day out, they amount to a massive greater success. Whereas when you're operating below the line, a few things done like below the line all day actually exponentially drops you lower in the game.
And creates failure.
Creates failure. Yeah.
So
So
it's
above
really
the line is success model.
below the line is failure.
Yeah.
And I think take that into your relationship, into your day-to-day workings, and when she says something that I feel I need to be right over, the question for me is, can I let go of something? Can I give something up? Is it that important to me? So really ask yourself in a relationship, because I promise you, so much of this is on automatic for you.
Yeah.
Over the years, you've got so sick of the little bits and the little niggling and the little comments. You've never emotionally dealt with them. You've never emotionally regulated yourself. You've never reset to zero. And I guarantee you're either withdrawing and shutting down or numbing off because you're sick of the conversation, or you're being right and niggling back. And those things they create distance, irritation, and a gap. They don't create togetherness. And the point I made earlier is so important, that 9 out of 10 of the things that you're stuck on, one of you could let go of. There may be one thing in your parenting you don't agree with, that you are both stuck on, that you're going to need help with or support to get over. But so many of I end up with so many couples in front of me that give me their versions of their story about what's happening, and I agree with both of them. They're arguing like furiously with each other, but when you listen to them as individuals,
both things are valid.
Both things are valid.
And in fact, both things are valid, and if they actually could see the other person's point of view and work them together, they become a powerhouse.
Well, where did we get this? I mean, I know it comes from the ego and the ego-driven defense that he uses of being right. But where did we get this idea that there's only one point of view?
My way or the highway. It's like my way or the highway.
It's ridiculous.
We've experienced that firsthand recently.
Yeah, recently there's an event here that we experienced that, but that becomes so easy to let go of things when I can see somebody else's point of view, their way that they're talking, and I know where that's coming from for them. I can understand it, so it becomes very easy for me to just, let it go, step aside, let it dissipate,
Or even just let it play out. Like, really?
Yeah, and
Like,
not get attached
let
to
it
it.
not be the best way, but just a way, right?
There are hundreds of best ways in life.
Yeah.
Your way is one, and you know,
Your partner's way is another, and then there's so many others that you haven't actually considered.
you know, I remember we had that argument about, when I say argument with Gan and I, it's not like what you might consider a full-blown argument, but it's like a disagreement, if you like. We were in the car, we wanted to go to the shops, and we were heading to the shops, and I wanted to go to, I think, a particular shop first, and you said, no, we have to do it this way.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go to this shop because of blah, blah, blah. I can't remember the reasons now.
Yeah.
And she wanted to go to the other shop.
Yeah. And it's an interesting one, right?
Do you remember that? I don't remember
I can't
the
remember
shop.
what the shops were, but like both of us were willing to let go of going to our particular shop, whatever it might be.
Yeah, well, at first we weren't.
At first we wanted
At
to
first
argue for a point
we were
of
like,
view.
I said, you go, no, we have to do this because if we don't do this, this and this will happen. And she said,
like, it was like, no, it needed to be this way, right?
because otherwise this is going to change and I'm going to miss this and I'm going to miss this and I can't do that, right?
Yeah. And then at some point, both of us let go of our attachment to it needing to be our way. And instead, what happens is both things.
I don't remember who let go,
I don't
but
remember either.
one person, one of us said to the other person,
And I don't even think it actually matters.
and this was really funny because one of us, because we were able to see it from the other person's point of view, one of us said to the other person, you know what, you're right, let's do this shop first, it won't make any difference to me. And I've got a feeling it was me in that instance because I remember you saying straight away back to me, no, let's go your way because it'll be better. And it was almost like I gave up my position. I let go of the argument. I gave up being right. I could see how it could work from her place. And the minute I did that, she then went and said, okay, no, let's do it your way. And the funny thing about it was we actually then had the same argument, but the other way around. So I then said to her, no, you were right, let's do it your way. I don't want to do it my way now. Your way's better. And she was like, no. We were laughing about it because it's like craziness.
Yeah.
But it sounds like a little thing, but you can't see that until you give up your focus on your position.
Yeah.
And so you can't see teamwork, you can't see teamwork in the relationship until you're willing to give up your little niggly position.
Yeah.
Your little being right, your little blame, deny, and what's the other one?
Blame, excuse.
Excuse.
And it's interesting as well. Like I remember watching two couples, right? One where they were at a point of contention and both people gave up what they needed, wanted, were fighting for in that moment, and the relationship was able to move forward. And then another couple, it was like she wouldn't give it up and nor would he, and then the relationship couldn't move forward. And that's indicative of what you're creating. If you're unwilling to get off it, give it up, get off it,
let it go,
then what you're doing is, what you're actually saying is, I actually want my relationship to fail. And that might sound harsh, but you want to live by that as what you're creating, because if you're not letting it go, if you're not giving it up, and if you're not getting off it, that is ultimately where your relationship's heading. And that's the hard truth.
And what we want to create, and for you to create for yourselves, is this thing where it's less about I and more about us working together.
Yeah.
And more about, for me, it's definitely more, of course there's things I want, there's things I do, but we work so well together that she wants me to have those things too.
Yeah.
There's very little times where we clash over something where one of us can't or won't let go. And there's, I wouldn't say, there's this kind of this nitpicking, bickering stuff doesn't happen. We might say something, but it doesn't carry on.
No.
It just dissipates really quickly.
Yeah, because we've learned to reset and let it go, and not let that be the forefront of who we are for each other. We see past who we aren't, and we see who's really there.
And is there any major arguments that we are continuing to have that we can't get over? I'm sure there are. I can't think of any at the moment.
I mean, there's been stuff that we've worked through that's taken time, but there's so many layers and components inside of it. Like when you look back in hindsight, you go like, wow, that makes sense why it took the time to move through it, because both of us were dealing with different levels and layers of stuff. But I don't know that there's a repetitive argument that we do all the time.
And I think life is so much easier when you're on the same page. I would say a lot of gals' parenting ideas are more relevant in our relationship. I would say the parenting structure,
how that happens,
how that has there. I think there are a couple of things she does that drive me a little bit crazy. I think she'll say yes to the kids almost as an automatic. You've got to think gals all about experiences, so she'll give the kids as many great experiences as she can. And sometimes she says yes when the answer in my ideas should be no. But I'll point it out, and if I really feel it should be no, I'll say no. Yeah. But most of the time I let it go and we have a conversation about it. We talk like we're talking now.
And we hold space for, like I might not agree with how Russell's parented in a moment, and he might not agree with how I've parented in a moment, but that's not a conversation to have in the moment with the children. That's a conversation for us to have later and go like, wow, like, I wouldn't have handled it that way, or like, wow, it really sounded like you were angry or upset or, louder than you needed to be, like whatever it might be. And there's space to be able to talk about that and then decide if there's something either of us needs to change to move forward.
And I think on another day, we really must get into, because if you have that argument conversation in front of the children are getting between the relationship, which is actually where the children want to be. It's not the best place for them.
Emotionally, it's a burden and a heavy weight to carry, but children naturally want to go there because it's like a false sense of safety, but what it actually does emotionally and how it hinders them going forward. We should talk about that on the next podcast. Is how
to keep things out of the middle of your relationship, get your needs met in your relationship,
including the children, and then what that actually looks like from an energetic point of view.
Yeah.
So that'll probably lead us into the next podcast.
Yeah. So perhaps to leave you with this concept of
above the line and below the line. So above the line, you've got your oars: ownership, accountability, and responsibility. And below the line behavior, think of you like, I just want to crawl into bed. Blame, excuse, deny, BED. And that where you want to be operating in day by day, moment by moment basis is above the line. And wherever you can catch yourself,
not catch your
partner and say, you're operating below the line. Do not do that. Leave their journey to them and your journey to you. Have a conversation about it if you want to. Like, how are we both going with this?
But not from blame,
but not from blaming your partner that they're operating below the line, because that's just more of the same. Yeah. So, and then how can you come together and work more as a team? Where are you a well-oiled machine and working as a team, and where are you falling short? And if you're listening to this going, well, we never fall short anywhere, but your relationship isn't working, I promise you are. And you're just completely deluded, and your blind spots are coloring what's actually going on.
Yeah, awesome.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again soon.
We'll catch you on the next one. How's that, babe? Pressure you got that on.